Hi everyone, it's Kat from Garden Spot Nursery with Garden Basics. Today I'm going to be showing you how to mount a staghorn fern like this beauty right here. So just stay tuned for this tutorial. And this is a really good project for beginners. It's super easy and it's a fun way to take indoor gardening vertical. And so a staghorn fern is an epiphyte, and an epiphyte is an organism that grows on the surfaces of plants. So you can find them in the nature on like the crevices of rocks and trees, and they derive their moisture and nutrients from the air, the rain, and the water and the debris accumulating around it. So for a staghorn fern, there are two types of leaves. We have the antler leaf, and this is that one. And then they also have a shield frond. And that's what that looks like. And so it just creates this big shield along the surface of the soil, or the surface to where it's mounted to. And if you notice that your shield fronds are going brown, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That just means that they're dying off and making new shields. And so the first thing we want to think about when we're mounting a staghorn fern is where you want to put it. You can keep them outside in the summer, but it has to be in a shady location, and they have to come in for the fall and winter. They don't want to be outside if the night temperature is below 50 degrees. And you want to pick a spot that has really good light, so bright indirect light. No scorching hot direct sun, just bright indirect light, kind of like we're getting in here right now. And you need to keep it somewhere where it's easy to access for you, because you're going to need to water it pretty often. Usually it's about once a week. It just depends how fast your staghorn dries out. You need to be able to get it down from the wall. So you're going to want to hang it somewhere that's easy to access for you, because you're going to have to water it about once a week depending on how hot the area is. And then you want to think about orientation. So there's a few things you can mount onto. Here's a really common one. People just use like a wood board. So you think about what space you want to put it. Do you want it to be oriented this way or this way? You could also mount onto this, and this is just a piece of cork that we sell at the nursery. You can just have it as a tabletop decoration. So that's really simple. Or today I'm going to be showing you how to mount it onto a hanging macrame board. And so there's a few ideas, and you just got to think about where you want it to look the best, and what kind of light it's getting there, and make sure it's easily accessed for water. Now we're going to talk about supplies. So first off, you need a staghorn. Then you need to pick your vehicle that you want to mount it onto. You're going to need some moss so you can nuzzle it in. You're going to need a drill and some screws, and then some fishing line, and then some scissors to cut your fishing line. Really easy. Most likely you have these items at your house already, so it can be a super inexpensive project. Okay, so your first step is going to, once you find what you want to mount it on, is to screw in the screws. What I like to do is, I like to do the 5 points of a star. I feel like that's the most secure, but you could probably get away with just 3 screws if you wanted to. So I've already done it, so we can skip that here today. But what we're going to do, so you got your 5 points of the stars and the nails. Next, you're going to take your moss. This is just green moss that we're using today. And what we're going to do is we are going to position it around the screws, and I kind of like to break it up a little bit. And what we're doing is we are making a moss nest. So you want to have a thick outer boundary and then kind of have a divot into the center. Okay, and it doesn't have to be perfect right now, because we're actually going to add a lot more moss to it once we're got the staghorn in there. So now that I have my little moss nest, what you're going to do next is take your plant and remove any leaves if they look damaged or anything. You want to have a fresh start. And to get your staghorn out of the pot, support it at the base and just shimmy it out of there. And what we're going to do is, here is the root ball, and then here's the top of the plant. We're going to shake off most of the soil. Not all of it, but we're going to take off about 50% of it. So a good percentage of the excess soil came off. But then the next step is to place it in your moss nest. And if you know how you want your board to hang, or if you know how it's going to hang like this, orient it to the way that you like, either having the longer fronds on top or on the bottom, just so you can kind of get a visual on how it's going to look on the board. The next step is going to be to cover it with more moss so that you cover the exposed root ball. It doesn't have to be perfect, because we're going to fix it up a little bit. Make sure any excess soil is covered. Okay, it looked pretty good there. And this is kind of the tedious part now, is we're going to apply the fishing line. And what you're going to do is you're going to start off by tying a knot on one of the screws. So you got to go back and find the first one. And I would recommend using kind of a bigger fishing line. They're a little bit more sturdier than the thinner ones. Okay, I have my first knot on the screw. I'm going to cut off the tail just so I don't forget about it. And what you can do is you can either keep it on the spindle or you can cut just a large piece off so you can get used to it. So I'm just going to cut a large piece off so I can have full motion. And then you're going to take your fishing line and you're going to meet one of the other screws. So I'm going to bring it right across here. And then I'm just going to loop it around the screw. You can either tie a knot, or if you just loop it, you can continue the line. And I'm going to come across again here to the same one. Oh no, we're going to go to a different one. And you literally just keep looping it across. You don't want to cut in the center of the plant across the shields because we don't want to cause any damage. But you're just going to keep crisscrossing and crossing and crossing until you feel that it's secure enough. So I've come to the end of my fishing line. I can't make it across one more time, so I'm going to tie off a knot that's really tight so it won't come undone. Okay, I've just tied off my final knot. It feels pretty secure to me, so I'm just going to cut off the tail. And right now there's a lot of exposed fishing line, and we don't want that look. We want it to look like it's effortless. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some more moss and weave it in and out through the fishing line to disguise it. I'm also disguising the nails in the board too, so that it can literally just look like it's stuck on the board. Okay, so I've wove some moss into there, and there's no exposed nails or fishing line. And the next step to do is a shake test, and this is going to be really embarrassing if it falls off. But what you're going to do is you're going to flip it upside down, and it stayed, so that's how you know it's secure. And you're going to want to water it right away so it can acclimate to its new environment. And then yeah, and once it's done drying, you can just hang it wherever you like. We are going to use it as a macrame and hang it like this. And see, you can hang this anywhere in a bright window, or even a little bit of a shady spot in your house would be just fine. There are a few other houseplants that you can also mount like this, and they're all epiphytes, so that includes orchids, air plants, ripsalis cactus, and bird's nest ferns. Okay, thanks for watching. My name is Kat. I'm from the Garden Spot Nursery. This is Garden Basics, and make sure to come into the store and talk to me about mounting staghorns. And then you're gonna take, you see that? No. A moth just flew out of there.